Hello, this is day 18. Recently, I've been trying to read a lot of different articles about the research topic that I want to do in my graduate studies. I'm trying to read a bunch of different perspectives and everything regarding the topic, not so it's just like one perspective that I have. So a recent paper that I read was actually about decision-making styles and investments. So in this study, the researchers divided the participants into 3 different groups. So there was the opt-out condition, where the participants were placed in an investment plan by default. So then there was the opt-in condition, where the participants were not placed in a default option, but they had to choose. And then there was a control condition, where the participants were asked to either accept or reject certain investment proposals. So the researchers wanted to see the types of decision-making styles that would be performed in each condition. So like how everybody, depending on their decision-making style, would perform in each condition. And they wanted to see if there was any participants that would adhere to nudging. So nudging is a concept of pushing people into a certain direction, but they believe that it's like they did it themselves, like they made the decision by themselves. This is like a marketing strategy that actually a lot of companies use to try to sell a certain product or plan, or like try to get their consumers to choose their product or plan of choice, right? So with nudging, default rules is known to be like the most common. So this is where there's just like, let's say for example, you go to a bank and they're like, oh, like we just have this bank account by default. So then you just like choose that one because it's like the default one, right? But that's actually a marketing strategy that the companies use. So simplification is another one, where the company will just like choose, like they'll have a plan and they just like try to simplify it as much as you can, or as much as they can, so it's like more people will choose that plan because it's like they understand it the best, right? And then there's also social norms, where the company will tell the consumer that like a lot of people are choosing this plan or product or something. I feel like that's like probably one of the most effective plans, is the social norms, just because everybody wants to do what everybody else is doing, right? So it's like if you go to a bank or something and they're like, oh yeah, a lot of people are using this product, like it's one of our most popular products and everything, then of course you're going to want to choose that one because it's like that's the one that everybody's using, right? So in terms of findings, the researchers found that avoidant, anxious, rational, independent decision-making styles were or could be facilitated using the default options. So this means is that these types of the avoidant, anxious, rational, independent decision-making styles, they were more like they chose to do the default options more often than any other types of decision-making style. So this study represents that decision-making styles can actually affect a lot of our lives, not only just when we're making like simple decisions, right? It affects a lot of like who we are and what kind of things that we do. So it's like the researchers also found actually that trait anxiety is correlated with avoidant decision-making style, which indicates that people with the avoidant decision-making style might tend to avoid making decisions in general. And then it can also, this decision-making style can also be related to neuroticism, which is like bad mood or like something like that, right? And then can lead to decision-making errors. So with the avoidant decision-making style, this pretty much to sum it all up, it means that they will either avoid making the decision or just procrastinate it altogether, or when they do make a decision, it tends to be out of a bad mood or like a bad feeling. So then that means that they might tend to make more decision-making errors, which I think is so interesting, because it's like, depending on how we're feeling, like the researchers did mention that a lot of decision-making styles tend to make decisions based on their own feelings and emotions rather than rationality, right? So I feel like when we're making decisions, we need to consider, if we're going to be like, especially if it's a really big decision, we need to consider every aspect of everything. Like it should not be made impulsively, right? Whereas some decision-making styles do tend to make their decisions more impulsively than others, right? So for example, like the anxious or avoidant, they might be like they might make their decisions based on emotions rather than like rationality and actual thought and everything like that, right? Whereas the rational decision making people, they will tend to make their decisions more based on rationality than emotions, right? And this also could mean that like this rationality isn't always the best option, right? Depending on the decision to make, rationality might not be the choice that's good, right? Like, that's why I think that this topic is so interesting, because although when it comes to certain decisions that we have to make in life, some decision making styles might be best over the other. So this means that even if somebody is an avoidant decision maker, this does not mean that it's a bad thing. Like, or even a rational decision maker, it doesn't mean that this is a good thing either, right? Like, it really is dependent on the situation and what we need to do in that situation, right? So I think that when people learn their decision-making style, I think it can help people understand the type of decision that they might make, or if they feel that they're like making bad decisions, then if they understand the type of decision-making style that they have, then I feel like this will just give them insight into why they're making certain decisions. And I think that this will help people understand themselves better, but then also be able to make the adjustments for every decision that they have to make. So if they think that they need to make a decision that's not impulsive, then they might actually get like other people to come and help them or anything like that, right? I think if they know their decision making style, it kind of makes them think twice about their decision.